Hello there, my name is Linda Jo Martin, the Book Lady, and I'm making this video for my Booktube and bookish friends. For those who don't know, Booktube is a large community of book-loving friends on YouTube. So today I am doing my March wrap-up, and I read, I think, 4 fiction books, 1 nonfiction, and some other stuff during March. So I started the month off reading Kindred, and I just loved this book. It is a time travel novel. Some people say that this author, Octavia Butler, was the first woman sci-fi author who's black, I should say. The first black woman sci-fi author. But she didn't want to be known as a sci-fi author, and there's a video here on YouTube that is an interview with her, and I posted that on my blog. So if you'd like to see it, it's at lindajomartin.com. Look at the March page and you'll see the Octavia Butler interview, which I thought was fantastic. In fact, I usually post 1 video for each book that I read, and there are some interesting things there. So if you want to know more of the story, there it is. And the second book that I read was Where'd You Go, Bernadette, which took place in Seattle. I read 2 Seattle books this last month, March. And I loved this book. It was an epistolary novel. It still is. So if you want to go read it. I love epistolary novels and very much recommend this one. I thought it was very amusing, and it did kind of have an abrupt ending to it, but who cares? It was really fun along the way. And then the next book I read after that was Woman in the Window, and this is a thriller, mystery, suspense thriller kind of book, and kept my interest. It was a fast read because it's kind of book you don't want to put down. It takes place in New York City. Again, I recommended it. It's a psychological suspense kind of thing. You would have to read it to truly understand. I can't give a lot of spoilers here. It's just not my way. So the next book that I read after that was Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet, which is the other Seattle novel that I read. And it took place in 2 eras, 1986 and 1942. And so what happened in 1942 was that a very young Chinese boy met and became close friends with a very young Japanese girl. And then, because it was World War II, the girl, unfortunately, was sent to an internment camp. So in 1986, the man finally gets access to this hotel in Seattle called the Panama Hotel, and it is actually there. I right away went and looked it up on Google Maps, and there is a Panama Hotel there, and it's really a place where Japanese people stored their household goods when they were sent into internment camps. So in the novel, I thought my phone was talking to me. In the novel, the man actually goes and looks for the things that were left by this girl, because apparently he never saw her again. He married somebody else. A very bittersweet novel, The Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet, and a lot of people read it and like it. It has a few flaws, but nothing that I would consider so major that you wouldn't want to read it. So the next fiction that I read was Little Prince. And I have a story that goes with that, because I used to have a very nice copy of The Little Prince, and I apparently gave that away when I moved from California to Idaho a few years back. So I had to get another copy. Well, I'm reading all of these for the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge, and this particular one was for a prompt for reading a book that you have read before that is a favorite. And so I chose this one because not only is it one of my all-time favorites, but it's also quite short. And I thought that would help me get through the 2019 Pop Sugar Reading Challenge just a little bit faster. Anyhow, I didn't have my former copy, or if I do have it, I don't know where it is. So I went to Amazon and I got a Kindle copy, and the first Kindle copy I got had nice color illustrations. However, it was translated by a Russian woman, and there were some editorial issues that I didn't like very much. So I went back to Amazon and I got this copy, which is a hardcover of the Catherine, hold on, it has immediately slipped my mind as I try to talk about it. Catherine, she's a translator. Catherine Woods. Okay, this is the Catherine Woods translation, which is a very good translation, which is why I got this particular copy of the book. But it's kind of a strange copy because it doesn't have a title page, and it's obviously kind of bootleg, and this is like a self-published kind of binding, and all the illustrations in here are black and white, which I was really very disappointed about. So in retrospect, I might have gone ahead and got the official Harcourt Brace version. I would recommend that. And it costs a little bit more, but it's the official version and it's got good illustrations in it. So, Little Prince. If you have not read The Little Prince, I hope someday you will, because it is a beautiful little story. It's a short, it's got like, I think 27 chapters, but they're all very short, and doesn't take long to read, but it's memorable, and it's been one of my favorites ever since I was a teenager. So in the nonfiction category, I read Killers of the Flower Moon, which is about the murders that took place on the Osage Indian Reservation back in the 1920s. I found it absolutely fascinating and well written. I don't usually read crime books, crime nonfiction, but this one was very good. I'm glad I got it. I'm glad I read it and learned the story of what happened to the Osage people who were being murdered because, well, they lived on a reservation where oil was found, and they became very wealthy, and somebody wanted their money, so they were being killed right and left. And some of the murder victims and their situations were explained in the book, but there was really a lot more than that. It was a very bad thing that was going on there. So, other than that, I didn't read much. I did have my art book to read, and I read a few sections of it, but it's a very thick book, and I didn't get all the way through it. And, well, midway through the month, I unfortunately became very sick, and that kind of put a dent in my reading. In fact, I actually spent 4 days in my bed without any inclination to read at all. I mean, that is so unusual for me. I was just too sick to read. I didn't do anything those 4 days for the most part. And I'm still recovering from it. And today is like the first day that I've been able to do this video, because until now I was having some uncontrollable coughing fits and things like that. So, feeling a lot better. You remember in February I read an art book, and it was a folk art fusion by Heather Galler, and I started copying some of her techniques, and I showed you this picture that I had done the background for. I had it just started. Well, I finished it and I wanted to show it to you. This is the finished copy of that picture. And I'm reading another similar book this month, but I'm gonna, art book I should say, because I have a goal this year to read one art book every month. But I will talk to you about it in the next video, which will be my April TBR. And, well, I guess that's it for this video. Thank you so much for coming by and listening, and I'll talk to you in another video. Bye.